right in the kisser.
Hey, how the devil are you? Oh, why, you're. So, recently, I made a video on an old Amstrad tower system from the early 80s. What a pile of junk that was, okay? It was a pile of junk then, it's a pile of junk now. But I think a lot of people are a bit deluded. Now, the comment section of my videos can be quite entertaining sometimes, and this one is no exception, actually more so. I can't believe how many people are jumping to defend this terrible system, okay? Because it's bizarre, it's just bizarre. So I wanted to share some of these comments with you. There's not many, okay? It's only going to be a short video, I guess, but I do like to waffle, so be look out. So let's have a look at some of these comments and maybe give some answers to them. Let's start with an easy one. Even stuff like this that was made cheaply 40 to 50 years ago is still better than most of the crap made today. Is it though? Compared to what? So are you telling me? So let's have a look at the equivalent, right? So that system I had was £169 back in 1983. That would be worth £550 a day. So are you telling me, right, that a Fozzy Audio V3 worth £100, right, and a Wii Mini worth £90, and a set of Dali Spectre 2 speakers worth £200, so £390. So in comparison, that system, the Wii Mini, the Fozzy Audio V3, and these speakers were quite a bit cheaper than the Amstrad system. Okay, are you telling me that Amstrad system is better than that? No, it ain't. And do you know what was ironic though? That you can get really cheap all-in-one systems now with multi-CD changes and things, and they are awful. And they probably sound terrible. I've never had one. They sound terrible. However, they probably would last longer than a year. Most people who owned Amstrad HiFis knew that something on it was going to break down within the first year. Or it'd last a year, then everything would all go wrong. They never lasted. They were terribly, terribly made. Very poor quality. So no, I disagree with that. So maybe some other stuff that was made cheaply is better than some stuff today, but definitely not that Amstrad. No way, no how. Let's have a look at the next comment. Survived over 40 years in nice condition and you just destroy it for likes. Doesn't really have the patience or skills to repair it. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. I reckon I could have. They sound okay with better speakers. Sad. Well, when it comes to repairing it, okay, let's have a look. It doesn't have the patience or skills. So let's put that to one side. Maybe I don't have the patience or the skill. Maybe I don't. Who knows? But why waste? Like, it wasn't just belts on it. It wasn't just belts. Loads of things were wrong with it, okay? There's loads of things. It probably needed a new tone arm, a new motor in the record deck, a new motor on the cassette. There was just so many things wrong with it. And so I'm going to spend a lot of man hours trying to repair it, a lot of money trying to repair it, only for it to break down a few months later. No, mate, no. It wasn't nothing to do with patience or skill. It's to do with common sense. And they sound okay with better speakers. So what he's suggesting is, right, if you put better speakers on it, it'll sound a lot better. Yeah, if you like the sound of 4-year-olds screaming at the top of their voices or nails on a chalkboard, then maybe so. Why would you waste your time getting decent speakers and then putting them on that? It makes absolutely no sense to me. Blinking, it would sound, look, if I bought a 1993 or 1994, I think they came out, Vauxhall Corsa, 1 litre, and I put Pirellis on it, okay? It's not going to make it that much better. The tyres would look nice, but the car's still a piece of crap, okay? So, no, they don't sound okay with better speakers. No. Well, they do sound better, but they don't sound okay. What's the next one? You mock the build quality so hard of this, but wasn't Alan Sugar ahead of his time in that? As you really credit the newer stuff for exactly that! Exclamation mark. Weem, etc. All built using cheap plastic. And I think that's supposed to be a TBE. And the sound level reflected its price point fairly by the sounds of it. Well, let's break that down. So, you mock the build quality, but wasn't Alan Sugar ahead of his time? Not really. Look, he had a good idea. He did have a good idea in putting it in an all-in-one system. I think, and it would have been great if he had made them better, okay? But Alan Sugar's business model was profit over quality, okay, at the expense of the consumer. And so when they first came out, people didn't realise how bad they were. It was only later on that people realised, and then people stopped buying them then, okay? People realised they were terrible, and then they stopped buying them, and then you never saw them again. Into the 90s, you never saw them Amstrad HiFis. So what he was doing was a bit like a Ponzi scheme, okay? He wanted to get in quick, rip everybody off, make money, and get out. And that's what it was to me, a Ponzi scheme, those Amstrad tower systems. Because, you know, people stopped buying them later on, and you didn't see them being built, into the 90s and 2000s. They were 80s gone, because everybody knew what crap they were. And then he says, as you really credit the newer stuff for exactly that, Weem, etc., all built using cheap plastic. Now, what? Okay, the Weem is made of plastic. But I wasn't criticising the build quality so much as the outside, even though that was poor, really, really thin, flimsy chipboard. But what I was criticising was the internals. At least with the Weem, it sounds good, it works well, and it lasts longer than a year. Okay? So comparing an Amstrad tower system to a Weem is just ridiculous. The casing has nothing to do with it. Like, for me, yeah, okay, looks are something, but I just wanted to do what it needs to do for a long time, okay? I don't want to buy a system that sounds terrible and breaks down all the time. And then he goes, the sound level reflected its price point fairly by the sounds of it. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. So that tower system was £169 to buy in 1983. So adjusted for inflation, that would be about £550 today. Today, for £550, you could buy a system, right? You could definitely buy a system which would be immeasurably better than that tower system for the same price point, or even cheaper, right? Immeasurably better. But even back in the day, for £169, you could buy maybe a boombox at the time. For £160, you can get a very decent boombox, which sounded a lot better than that Amstrad system. A lot better. So no, the sound level didn't reflect its price point fairly at all. Completely disagree with that. Okay, last one. Destroying an old vintage English hi-fi that was in perfect condition and just needed a few belts, rather than take it to a charity shop and allow someone else to enjoy their past memories and bring them happiness. What? Again, I'll come back to that. Right, I'll come back to that. Oh, comedy gold and profit to charity. You won't catch me in your next one, fella. Okay. So let's start off with the first bit. Destroying an old vintage English hi-fi that was in perfect condition. Well, first of all, it wasn't in perfect condition, okay? It wasn't in perfect condition. By the look of it, it looked all right, but it was far from in perfect condition. And it didn't just need a few belts, okay? I've already explained it needed a lot more than a few belts needed to it. And then calling an Amstrad tower system old vintage English hi-fi. Are you having a laugh? That's an insult to vintage hi-fi anyway, okay? What do you think of when you think of vintage hi-fi? Do you think of an Amstrad tower system? No. If you do, seek medical help. It's an insult. Look, for me, a vintage system would be separate amplifiers and whatever, you know, with VU meters, you know, the Pioneers, the Sansuis, you know, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Old Lynn record decks, stuff like that. That's vintage hi-fi, okay? Not this pile of rubbish, right? So, joking. And then this bit, it creased me. So, rather than take it to a charity shop and allow someone else to enjoy their past memories and bring them happiness, I can guarantee that 90% of the people who owned these Amstrad tower systems want to wipe it from their memories, okay? It doesn't bring them it brings them woe, okay? It brings them sorrow. Thinking, why did I waste my money on that system? I was completely ripped off. Ooh! It's like fondly remembering an STD. Oh, remember when you had gonorrhea? Oh, yes, I remember that. Fun times. Good memories, good memories. Seriously though, come on. That's not going to bring anybody happiness. Fond memories. Get out of it. You're having a laugh. I've got nothing but nightmares about that blinking thing that I owned in the early 80s. That tower system. Oh, I flipping hated the thing. And it makes me angry remembering it. Oh, why I wasted my money on that. If I'd only saved up a little bit more. And you're not talking a lot more either. Oh, bloody Amstrad. And profit to charity. Well, to be fair, I mean, in the UK, would you sell it in a charity shop? I don't think you're going to make a lot of profit off it. And it'd probably be sat on the shelf for a long, long time. You'd probably have people walking by spitting on it. Okay. And then he finishes off by, you won't catch me in your next one, fella. Yay! Like, as if I give a toss. Why, isn't it funny why some people says, right, I'm not watching you no more. And what? Like, oh my God, he's gonna watch any more of my videos. That's the end of my channel. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? My life's over. Get out of it. Look at the ego on these people. Like he thinks it's gonna make a difference to me. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Okay, keep them civil, and in the comment section. So if you missed that video, I'll put a link up here in the video description, and I'll catch you in the next one.